Hello, welcome back. My name is Ari, and today I am here with 2 months worth of book hauls. Now before I get into this video, I mentioned this in my last video, but in case you didn't watch it, you're gonna hear the fan in the background. It's very, very hot in my apartment, and I don't have an air conditioner. So I would die if I didn't have this fan blowing on me. I do apologize for the noise, but I need it to survive. Sorry, not really that sorry. Anyway, I got a lot of books to haul, but we do this as a game. And how that works is down here on this side you will see a number. That number should be 34, but if I miscounted, it'll be something else, right? And this is how many books that I have read in the past 2 months that are haulable, which means I bought a physical copy of it. It was one of my audiobooks. It's something that I had on my backlist that I have done in a year-end haul or something like that. What it doesn't count is audiobooks, books I borrow from the library, books I borrow from Kindle Unlimited, things like that. So that's what that number is to start out. This section over here that is empty right now, this is where we're going to be counting all of the books that I'm going to haul. You can kind of see some of them behind me here. Now, this one will go up every time I show you a book. This one will only go up if I show you a book that I have read, but I haven't read it in the past 2 months. So, I hope that makes sense. If not, feel free to ask me a question down in the comments below. And while you're here, while you're down there, like and subscribe. I would very, very much appreciate it. Anyway, let's get into the haul. So the first little section I am doing right here, these are all books that I am replacing uglier books in my already existing collection. So we're gonna go through this. The first one is Edge Dancer by Brandon Sanderson. I'm just going to be upfront with you. All of these books are by Brandon Sanderson. So this book is this novella is in the Arcadium Unbound, which is a short story collection by Brandon Sanderson. All the books take place in his Cosmere universe. But I have Dawn Shard in this tiny, it's hardback, but this is the size of a mass market paperback. So I have Dawn Shard in this format, so I wanted Edge Dancer in the same format, so I went ahead and bought it, even though if you're not collecting these, you can get this novella in the Arcadium Unbound. Speaking of Arcadium Unbound, my copy has a bunch of water damage on it, so I ordered a copy of it in paperback from the UK. So this is a UK paperback. I have the US hardback, but like I said, it's got a lot of water damage on it, so I wanted to replace it because the copy I have isn't readable anymore. Then, speaking some more of UK paperbacks, they look so much better than the US copies as far as Brandon Sanderson works go. So I have mass market paperbacks of all of the Mistborn books, and those are the only Sanderson books that I have in mass market paperbacks. So I'm going to replace them too. So I got The Final Empire, which is actually called Mistborn in America, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages, which are just the 3, books in the first Mistborn trilogy. I do have these books in the second Mistborn trilogy, but those are all hardbacks, so I didn't need to replace them. In short, a lot of new Sanderson books just because they were prettier. Since we're talking about books that I've already read, let's jump into the new books that I have purchased, but I read within the past 2 months. So purchased them, turned around, read them instantly. The first one is going to be The Wicker King by Kate Ancrum. This was a really, really fantastic book. Highly recommend. Then I read The Deep by River Solomon. I didn't like this one as much, but I like River Solomon's other works, so I'm okay with owning this one. Speaking of River Solomon, I also pre-ordered Sorrowland by them, and this is fucking fantastic. 5 stars, one of the weirdest shits I've ever read in my life. Highly, highly recommend. And the final one, Catherine House, was on my 5-star predictions. It didn't quite hit 5 stars, but it is a 4-star read. I liked it. I don't think everyone's going to like it, so I don't recommend this just willy-nilly. Look into this and look into what the tropes are and see if you would like it. Next, we're going with a much bigger stack of books that I bought and haven't read yet. Shit. First up is a graphic novel called A Man and His Cat by Umi Sakura. Ugh, that's hard to say. Anyway, this is a comic book about an old man who adopts an old fat cat, and then they just live their lives, and it's supposed to be wholesome and cute, but I haven't read it yet. We'll see. Then Amazon, I think it was for Prime Day, was having a sale on like books where a bunch of books were on sale, and then they were also like buy 3 get 1 free or something like that. Buy 2 get 1 free, buy 3 get 1 free. I don't remember exactly, but I bought all these books because they were on sale, not because I needed them. Anyway, the first one is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. This, I don't know what this is about, but it's won a lot of awards, so I bought it. I've heard other people say good things about it. Like, I remember people saying like, oh, that was a really good book, but I don't remember what it's about, and I don't care enough. I just bought it anyway. Then I wanted to read the Calculating Stars series by Mary Robinette Kowal, so I bought the first 2 books in the series. This one wasn't on sale, so I think it was like a buy 2 get 1 free. And this one I wasn't on sale, or it was on sale, but it wasn't part of that deal. But The Faded Sky was part of that deal, and so I think I just purchased this because it was like $2 in the end. And then ended up getting the other 2 books, one of which I've showed you, one of which I'm about to show you. But I needed to read the first one before I read the second one, so I had to buy this one too. So I'm gonna read this series this year. This is about lady astronauts, by the way. I don't know what else it's about, but lady astronauts. And then the last book I bought on that Amazon deal was 400 Souls, which is a history collection where a bunch of different authors take a small chunk of Black American history from 1619 to 2020, and then they write about that period in history from a Black perspective instead of like the whitewashed perspective we get in schools. So that sounds interesting to me. I've heard that this isn't like the greatest collection of stories because each author tells like their chunks so completely differently, it doesn't mesh well together, but I don't care. I still want to learn about Black history, and this seems like a good starting point for that, where I can at least get like a broad sense of what's going on, and if anything really piques my interest, I can do like some more in-depth reading on that particular subject. So when I purchased Catherine House in the Deep, which you saw earlier, I had made an order from Powell's bookstore, and I had like a huge credit, and then I wanted free shipping. Not that, like, shipping's like $1.99 at Powell's, but for some reason I felt like I needed to spend the $30 to get free shipping instead of paying $1.99. And I had a credit. So, including Catherine House, The Deep, and I don't remember what the other book. There was 4 books that I bought. Oh, it was a Man and His Cat. But including that, I also purchased A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I saw this television show and I kind of hated it, but I like the premise of it. So I wanted to see if the book was better. because I really liked the premise of the show, I just hated the show itself. So I bought the book and I'm going to read the book. The next book I purchased because I planned to read it last month, but I never got around to it, and that was Disfigured by Amanda Leduc. This is a essay collection, maybe, on like how disabled people are villainized in fairy tales. So sounds very interesting. It's something that I wanted to read for a while, so I ended up buying it for my TBR for last month. Ended up never actually reading it because last month was a shit show, but now I own it, so I can read it whenever I want to. Again, last month, if you saw my wrap-up, I read a book called Transwizard, Harriet Porber, and the Bad Boy Parasophilus by Chuck Tingle, which I purchased in the first place because J.K. Rowling is a shithead, and anybody who mocks her has a special place in my heart. If you're unaware of that whole situation, she was saying some very nasty things towards trans women because she's a TERF. And that's what they do. I ended up loving Transwizard Harriet Porber, and there's a sequel to it, so I bought it. This is Transwizard Harriet Porber in the Theater of Love. Chuck Tingle's hilarious writer. These are considered erotica, but the sex scenes aren't anything you wouldn't see in like a regular romance novel. And they're funny, they're intelligent, and it's really good. So they're also really short, so I kind of recommend at least the first one, but I'll let you know at the end of the month about this one because this is on my TBR this month. And the last book in this category that I hauled is, it's a special one. So you may or may not know that there are some books that are just out of print. Like, you can't get a physical copy of them anymore. You can't get an ebook copy of them either because like the author no longer wants to sell the book, or they want to distance themselves from the book, or maybe there was like issues with the publisher and it's just not available right now. Those books are so freaking expensive to get used. If you can't find an ebook copy of something, getting it used, crazy expensive. So this book is something that sounded interesting to me when I first saw it, but it was $600. And on average, and there are websites, like used book websites, where you can like get a notification anytime a book that is hard to find that you want goes on sale. Maybe it's like a specific edition of a book, or like a book like this that's out of print. And I got notifications for it maybe like once every 2 weeks or something like that, and I never saw anything under like $200. And then a copy showed up for $20 and I jumped on that shit. So I got this book for $20. I could probably resell it for $400 if I ever decide I want to resell it, which I have no desire to right now. But this is Satan Loves You by Grady Hendrix. You probably can't get this book for the reasons I just listed. So I'm sorry if you want to read it. You're kind of shit out of luck, but I have it now. Sucks to be you. Alright, the next section is going to be book box books. Some of them I've read, some of them I haven't. Yikes. Anyway, Book of the Month Club. I've had a problem the past 2 months with Book of the Month Club, and it's called using all of my add-ons. So Book of the Month Club, you pay $15 a month and get a brand new release or soon to be released hardback. Like, those things are so expensive, so paying $15 for one is a great deal, especially if you're into like contemporary and historical fiction, because that's mostly what they have on their website. But you can add 2 extra books every month from like a huge list of books instead of just the 5 monthly ones. that for $10 each. And in both May and June, I used my $10 for both of the books. So yeah, hi. First up, Severance by Ling Ma. This is a like pandemic horror like story. And it's on my TBR for this month. It sounds interesting. It sounded interesting for a while, and I just like, I'll buy it. Why not? Next up was Shrill. This is a book about being a loud woman. Typically in our culture, women are taught to be very demure, and it's best to not speak up. If a guy is harassing you, you just make yourself smaller and don't say anything and just try to get out of the situation. If you're soft-spoken and quiet, you won't be harassed anymore. You're not considered like, if you're loud, you're either considered like slutty or you're considered like violent and mean and like a shrew. And this is nonfiction about how all of that is fucking bullshit, and women can be as loud as they want, and it's men's problem when they consider us aggressive or slutty or whatever other insult that people can come up with for a loud woman. Speak up for yourself, because men are going to treat you like shit whether you do or not. Congratulations. But yeah, nonfiction about that. Obviously, my kind of thing. Then the actual book of the month club book for that month was Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. This, I don't know a whole lot about. It is fantasy, and it is an Arthurian novel. So King Arthur's court, some sort of retelling. That's all I know. I haven't got a chance to read it yet. I don't know when I'm gonna get around to reading it, but hopefully soon. Then in May, I picked up a copy of The Firekeepers Daughter by Angeline Bully. This is a teen novel. It's indigenous, and I think it's a mystery where somebody's like murdered and they're trying to solve it. I've heard nothing but good things about this. I already hauled this as an audiobook a couple of months ago. I just wanted a physical copy of it too, even though I haven't read it. But I felt like something like this would be better to read physically than it would be to listen to. But it's already been hauled, so it's not increasing this count over here. Next up is Love in Color by Bolu Babalola. And this is a short story collection that's like retellings of mythology from around the world. I think it focuses on Black cultures, so it sounded very interesting when I read the synopsis, but that's been like over a month, so I forgot everything that this is about now. And the final one I read, look at me reading things, it was Ariana by Jennifer Saint. This is a retelling of Greek mythology. It's actually two separate Greek mythological stories because both of those stories originally in Greek mythology featured Ariadne, but because she was a female, women were kind of considered useless in ancient Greece. She was like in the background of two different stories. So this is like follows her life from her perspective instead of her being in the background. If you're interested, the stories are like Theseus and the Minotaur, and she was also married to Bacchus. So you've got like some story about him that she was featured in as well. And now I'm going to switch sides because the other stack's over here. You can kind of see it down here. Next up, continuing the book boxes. This is from my Book Nerds Essentials book box for 2 months. The first one is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I don't think I need to explain this, but I read it. Next up is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, also from Book Nerd Essentials. I didn't read this. I'm probably never going to read this. This is just going on my classic shelf. The next two books are from Coffee and a Classic, and that is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I have read this. I actually own a copy of this that's the exact same copy as I'm holding in my hand right now. So, duplicate copy. Weirdly enough, the other book was Pride and Prejudice, and I own the exact same copy of Pride and Prejudice as this. So, 2 months in a row of Coffee and a Classic not only giving me books that I already own, but giving me like the exact same copies of books that I already own. The next two books were from my Diverse Readers box from Aphronomenon, and that is A Song of Wraith and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown, and The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I have read both of these books. I really liked this one, didn't like this one. These were supposed to be in a dark academia box. Let me tell you that neither one of these are dark academia. These are both young adult fantasy. Next up was my The Strand book box. That is We Are Where the Nightmares Go and Other Stories by C. Robert Cargill, and The Library of the Dead by T.L. Hushu. This is a new release. This is a backlist title. This is a collection of short horror stories. This is fantasy with like a ghosty aspects. I don't know why they sent me like horror and ghosty stories in a sci-fi and fantasy box in June, but they did. I didn't care for either one of these. They're fine. There's not something I'm gonna remember in like 2 weeks. Then the last 4 books in this section are books that I got from my what is this called? Like a sci-fi book club book box or something like that. It's like $17 a month, and they send you to fantasy, or they send me, because you can choose fantasy or sci-fi. I choose fantasy. They send me 2 fantasy books per month. Usually backlist, but 2 fantasy hardbacks for $17 is a pretty good deal, and it introduces me to new authors. I've read one of these because I'm trash. So let's start with the one that I read. This is American Magic by Zach Fest? I don't. Who knows with my pronunciation. Anyway, this is like, what is that, like spy thriller, like Born Identity type of novels, except for it has magic. Not my thing, but if you like that type of like American spy, CIA, FBI agent type thing, you might enjoy this, especially if you're looking to like get into fantasy, or you like both the spy type novels and fantasy novels. This might be for you, not really for me. The other ones I haven't read, and I have no freaking idea what it's about. First one is The Perfect Fraud. This doesn't look like fantasy at all. Like, nothing about this cover looks like fantasy. Nothing about the synopsis made it look like fantasy. I don't even remember what this is about, but I remember looking at it and saying, I don't think this is fantasy. Oh, her mother's a psychic, which I guess is why it's fantasy. Sure, whatever. I don't know. Then I have The Deepest Blue by Sarah Beth Durst. I don't know what this is about, but I'm assuming it has something to do with the ocean. Then I have Sabbath by Nick Mamatas. And this one either is going to be really good or like really awful, because it's like post-apocalyptic, but like the main character is like super religious, and there might be like angels and demons in it. I don't remember. I remember seeing this and thinking either that's going to be really bad Christian fiction or this is going to be fucking fantastic. And the last section, as always, are my Libra FM picks for May and June. Libra FM, I'm part of their influencer program, so I get to select from a group of audiobooks that I get for free. If you are interested in signing up for it, it's like Amazon Audibles, or is like Amazon's Audible, except for the money from Libra FM goes to support small businesses instead of supporting Amazon, which Amazon doesn't need your money and they don't care about you. So if you have an Audible subscription, I recommend switching over to Libra FM, provided it's available in your area. I also have a Libra FM subscription and I buy my own books off of there, so I like it. If you are interested, there's a referral link down below. I get a free book if you sign up, so if you don't want to use my link, that's fine. I don't care. It's just there if you wanna. So, June's books. There's a lot of really popular books that came out in June, and I don't even know if I want to read any of them, but I feel like they're probably going to be on some sort of like Goodreads next year, so I figured I should pick them up now. So the first is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have read Daisy Jones and the Six and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think Malibu Rising follows the children of some of the characters in Daisy Jones and the Six, if I am not mistaken. I don't really have any interest in picking this up anytime soon, but like I said, I think it's going to be in the Goodreads choice, and I'll probably need to read it next year. Next is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, and I read The Silent Patient by him last year, and I didn't particularly care for it, but it was super popular, so again, I have a feeling that this is going to be on a Goodreads list next year. Then the two that actually sounded interesting to me, I got All the Lonely People by Mike Gale. I don't remember what this is about, but apparently the synopsis sounded interesting enough for me to pick it up. And then I also got An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahara Mafi. I picked this up because of the author. I've never read Tahara Mafi, but I've heard great things about her writing, so opportunity to check out her writing in a new series, because I think everything else is like completed or in the process series. In May, I didn't grab that many books. I only grabbed one, and that was On Juneteenth by Annette Gordon-Reed. It was the only one that sounded interesting that month to me. So, pick that up. And that's it. Anyway, that's everything in this video. Let me know if I should prioritize reading any of the books that I featured here today down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!